Testing. Hello, everyone here in the room and online. I'm Erica Wood.
And I'm Simon Sharkey.
And we are the co-creators of Conference of the Birds. We'd like to thank the Canada Council for the Arts and the High Commission of Canada for being able to be here and present this session along with so many of our Canadian cohort. We are really excited to be gathered here in Glasgow, where so many are gathered, artists and activists, to stand for the planet and our Earth. Before I introduce everyone here and everyone online, I would like to invite Elder Duke Redbird to give us a land acknowledgement for this land we stand on and this land that sustains us. If we could, Duke.
We can't hear Duke. Sorry, we'll pause for a second there because we're having them. We've got you now, Duke.
Oh, are we on? Should I? So I just want to say greetings from Canada. It's the custom of Indigenous people to begin every significant gathering or celebration by first acknowledging our home and our host, our mother, the earth. It's an opportunity to remind all of us of our covenant with nature and all living things. We are the servants and stewards of the land, and each generation borrows its use for a brief time from their children, grandchildren, and progeny forever into infinity. So in keeping with this tradition, I wrote this poem called Our Mother, the Earth. A great mystery created the universe and fashioned a blue geosphere, radiant planet, the Mother Earth, the genesis of all we hold dear. With all the billions of stars in space, only the Earth could create the perfect human birthing place. A little sphere of cosmic dust was the spark of spirit given to us. In all the years of her existence, with benevolence and generosity, she provided for our subsistence and never needed our assistance. But now the world is in distress due to unrestrained excess. Nature reveals that true progress is possessed by every plant and tree that echoes every breath we breathe in a symbiotic symphony of connected sustainability. In the present tsunami of climate change, the Earth may never be the same. With 8 billion mouths to feed, the fires are burning, there's less air to breathe. We must conserve and preserve our rivers and forestry to ensure our own continuity. We must activate, contemplate, and regenerate the life and abundance of our birthplace. We don't choose where we are born. We are the outcome of a cosmic storm. Our journey is to search and find the natural order of the divine. Joy and enlightenment is the gift this wisdom brings. Adore and cherish all living things. Acknowledge the cradle of our precious birth and our relationship with our mother, the sacred earth. Megwetch, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Duke, for sharing your wisdom and your artistry and starting us off. The topic for this panel is adaptation, which, as we know, is key to our longevity on this planet. There are many, many minds here. I've been listening on the trains, conversations. Lots of people are at work, I think, looking at different ways that we can adapt. On this panel here, we're not the climate scientists. We're coming at it from a perspective of artistry, Indigenous thought leadership, disability activism. The Conference of the Birds was an adaptation that Simon and I looked at early days of the pandemic in terms of working with participatory arts and community. How could we do that when we were isolated? And this project was born, and all these amazing people that you see on the Zoom here have joined this journey. So that's one gift we have here. We are also have been guided the whole journey by Anishinaabe leader Duke Redbird, whose traditions are based on long ago achieved enlightenment about how we adapt our human practices based on the needs and gifts of Mother Earth. Additionally, we're gifted with the creativity of the people you see here. These artists at the table with Simon and I, the National Access Arts Centre, Canada's oldest and largest disability centre, and their mixed ability ensemble created the work for Canada in Conference of the Birds. These artists have unique perspectives that I think we all can learn from on adaptation in art and beyond. Our work was further enriched by a design thinker and teacher and arts activist, Pawel, who's here online from the Netherlands, who sees the potential in technology and the World Wide Web to create community, to adapt our usage and interactions to these platforms and lead us back to learning about earth-based sustainable living on Earth. We want to welcome everyone here online, Punita from India, Renato from Brazil, Ben from Canada, Razek from Bangladesh, and Maria from Chile. Thank you for being here. We will be speaking to everyone in turn, but I want to start off the first question to our Canadian artists here. I want to pose it and ask what adaptations you maybe had to make on this journey of creating art as an ensemble, of working together in a pandemic, of traveling all the way from Canada. What were maybe some of the challenges you faced, and how did you deal with them? Anybody?
Conference of the Birds is, people understand Conference of the Birds is important to us. They share love, nature, journey, and with adventure, and with joy. So people may think that Conference of the Birds were very delightful, that were able to represent one of the most important things that Conference of the Birds to be in the ways that they are in, delightful and with joy.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you very much.
Would anyone, Jonathan, would you like to talk about your experience with Conference of the Birds?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, as a group, we created like unity and prosperity with all this group. It was fun making this project, this colorful team that we have before us.
Rachel, do you want to contribute?
Rachel?
Hi. So I just wanted to add, it was actually a quite amazing experience having to adapt in order to get this project done with the pandemic going on. And I think coming together on Zoom, getting to know all of you guys is one amazing experience and one that I would never forget. So thank you to all of you.
Thank you, Rachel. And we shall open the question up to our guests on Zoom.
Can I just interrupt for one moment and welcome Karen on screen as well, who's just joined. So
Hello,
also part
Karen.
of the National Access Arts
Hi,
Centre
Karen.
team.
Hi.
Welcome. Over to you, Simon.
So yeah, let's just open that question up to the rest of our guests on Zoom. The idea of what adaptation is. We've gone through quite a lengthy journey together, and all along the way there have been obstacles and challenges which have turned into opportunities. And as we, with the Conference of the Birds, based on the poem, travelled through 7 valleys that tested and challenged us. And at first it was COVID, but then it was climate emergency, and then it was a whole load of other challenges that we've faced up to. And there's a lot that we can learn from the adaptation in the face of those challenges. So I'd like to invite some of you to just talk a little bit about what challenges you've faced, what adaptations you made, and how we might learn from that principle of adaptation for climate emergency. Who would like to go first? Put your hand up. There you go. Renato, thank you.
Hi, people. It's very good, and I'm very excited to be with you all. I raised my hand first because being from Brazil at these moments and have our government being one of the people attacking the globe constantly, and like in the front line, burning the Amazon and killing the indigenous people. We never had so many indigenous leadership being killed as we have now from 2018, when our president Jair Bolsonaro took place. And all is a funny country where the minister of the environment is the side of the people that is burning and destroying the trees. So where the economy minister have investments offshore, so he has prophecy where the Brazilian crisis. So it's a funny country we live in now. And being able to be part of these projects with people to try to reflect solutions and find a possible way to live in this planet today. I'll be with you all. I think that is very moving to see the Conference of the Birds, the poem, as this platform to us, because where the birds must gather together to find a solution. So they move themselves through an unknown place, passing through different, like love, passing through knowledge, to quests, to many other adventures to find the illumination. So they lose everything they have in the way, arrive there almost destroyed to find themselves. And this is the illumination in the poem. So they become their own kings and their own gods. So the person, the individual. And so when you listen, Ailton Krenak, one of our biggest indigenous leaders today in Brazil, saying that we are the nature. There's nothing in this planet that is not nature. And how we as a human being is being separate ourselves from the nature, and doing this we allowed the society to destroy the nature. So the answer is inside ourselves, as in the point, is understand that we are the nature. We are connected with the plants and all living beings that live together if, in this planet. The animals and everything is connected together. So when we destroy the planet, we destroy ourselves. So as a Brazilian artist here, coming from peripheries, favelas, where I come from, Favela do Vidigal, and become an international artist, working with Nós do Morro and the Royal Shakespeare Company, have the opportunity to share different perspectives with all my group. And when you do work thinking about the planets and think about ourselves today, these emergent issues, we have to adapt everything. We have to adapt ourselves, because it's very easy to say that we're doing arts for planets and buy plastic without we needs and don't look after our garbage. So how to produce in a different way, find different ways of living and producing arts integrated with planets. So is our main learning from this project. So thank you for the moment to share with us a little bit of our work.
Thank you very much, Renato. I'd like to pass it over to Duke. Duke, what do you think is a key adaptation that we need to make as humans? I know you have lots of ideas. Can I ask you?
Well, you know, we have to be able to realize that we are one with the creation of the earth. You know, in the hierarchy of creation, Mother Earth to Indigenous people around the world was always sacred. And when the earth is sacred and you love the earth as much as you would your own mother, you have a different relationship every day with creation. And I guess that somewhere along the line, the sacred Mother Earth was replaced by a different idea about creation coming from a different place than the earth itself. And when human beings could see that they could satisfy appetites that were associated with their personal happiness based upon exploitation rather than exploration, when profit became more important than people, when the earth was just seen as a resource for the benefit of very few elites, everything changed. But this has only been going on for about 3,000 or 4,000 years. For the 2.5 million years that humans have occupied the planet, we had a different relationship, and we realized that our existence and our sustainability depended upon how well the earth was providing for us, because the earth created a guaranteed annual income for all living things, not just human beings, but for every single thing on earth was provided for our development. And you know, we see in the insect and animal kingdom, the world of birds, they've acquired the ceiling of their particular evolution, and they are satisfied to live in a compatible symbiotic relationship with the earth. It's only human beings who have deviated from that idea that a symbiotic relationship with the mother of all living creatures and life itself is the way to go. Now it's going to be difficult to change that, but I was thinking of an expression that I heard, and it's probably an expression that comes around the world. It's called the straw that broke the camel's back. And there's 8 billion straws right now that are loading on the camel's back. Each one of us is one of those straws. I don't want to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. I would like to carry one of the straws and lessen the burden of the camel. And if 8 billion people just on that alone chose to do one thing that would relieve one small straw off the back of our Mother Earth, we would see a change, and we would understand that this birthing place of human beings needs to be protected for generations to come. And we would be looking at generations into the future and see that the work that we do and the way we live our lives and our relationship with all living things guarantees, if we treat it as sacred, a birthing place for our children, grandchildren, and progeny on forever. And that's the difference between profit over people, and we need to be people over profit.
Thank you very much, Duke. Can I pass Punita? Can you talk a wee bit about the joy of this project is the many different challenges and aspects of different cultures in the countries that we were working with. And Punita, in India, there was a whole range of different challenges and adaptations that you were needing to make. Could you talk briefly about what some of them were? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. Firstly, I want to just thank you all for this incredible opportunity, because this entire project, which I think we spoke about in March, April last year, just as the pandemic was breaking, it's been an incredible journey about reconnecting with my sense of self. When we first spoke about the project, what was the image that was really kind of blazed across my mind for India was of the migrants, the thousands of migrants trekking back home. And I've started our first valley with that in the quest. And I found that the backdrop of the poem and the whole thing of the migratory birds, it kind of spurred an interest in me to find out, so where is home? Where are these migrants heading? And that actually got us to design 4 valleys centered in the interiors of India. It was going back to our roots, to our basics. And oh my God, if it wasn't for this project, I would have not traveled during COVID the way I did. And honestly, just getting back and taking in, smelling in the clean air, skies were blue, there was lush greenery all around. And more than that, I completely echo what Renato and Duke have said, but this was something that I experienced during the project, where I found my breath slowing down. I was in a way coming in sync, literally with the rhythm of the universe, and I felt so nurtured, so nourished. We'd gone to a place called Banswara in Rajasthan. We went to the Worli tribes in Maharashtra. there were other places we visited where that sense of, I mean, it was really the energy of love, the energy of creation that me and my team, we felt that. And, you know, it was like, you know, you're talking about we are nature. It just felt so right, you know, that it was a huge process of unlearning for me, of understanding that this is where it all started and this is where we need to come back to the simplicity, to the humility of these people. And the Worli tribe for me was a really deep spiritual journey. They're an indigenous tribe in Maharashtra. And apart from the art, the Worli art, some of you may be familiar with, it's their philosophy of not just regarding Mother Earth as sacred, and, you know, every season is celebrated, from the sowing of the seeds to the harvesting, etc. But the entire linkage to the lineage of the ancestors. They honor their ancestors. They, the presence of energies, of spirits, of the trees, of the rivers, of the mountains, they actively venerate and respect. And I mean, I find that echoed in Duke's poetry. But, you know, we've been there. All of us have been part of that. And I really think that, Simon, I mean, the answer for us to go back to a sustainable lifestyle is to somehow, in India, I know, is to reverse the migration. We have to all get back to the villages and, you know, cut down on our consumption, but to that simple lifestyle where we're in sync with, you know, it's the rhythm of the day. You know, it's bizarre the way, you know, our clock, I mean, we walk till way beyond after the sun sets, you know, we're stressed out. All of that, you know, can just, if we can just calm down and settle down. But I know it means giving up a lot of what is really of very little value when we're talking about well-being, when we're talking about emotional well-being, when we're talking about spiritual well-being, physical and mental too. So it's been such a rush. It's been a rush of meeting people, absorbing, trying to do justice to our experience through our offerings on the website. But I'm now really waiting to sit back and process. Oh my God, what a journey it's been. And I really want to thank all my fellow leaders in the different countries. There is so much now that now I want to go into each country and absorb what each one has put up. So all I'm going to say is a very, very big thank you. And I do hope somewhere we can kind of get back to a more big, simpler, gentler lifestyle where we respect every living form. Thank you. I just got a bit carried away, but it's been a very emotional journey for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Punita. Rajak, do you want to speak to some of the challenges that and adaptations you had to make? I know that there were some early on you shared with us. Can I pass it to you?
Sure, thank you. Actually, I believe about the synthetic philosophy of art, that the art itself adapts its surroundings and environment. And in that way, I believe that Conference of the Birds is such a wonderful project that it also adopted its cessation, that we now during this pandemic cessation, we are isolated. But this project found its way to be expressed. Look here, we're isolated from different part of the world, and we're connected to each other. So, in that way, when we were while doing our work, our projects, we faced some obstacles, challenges, but we handled it beautifully, and we talked. And I would like to mention that when we went to the Cox's Bazar, the longest sandy sea beach in the world, for the Valley of Love, we went too close to the nature. the sea beach and blue sky and natures. Then our groups felt about green theater. We should do that green theater revolution. We should do green theater for a sustainable life, for the sustainable, for the health of our planet, as well as for the health of ourselves. I think that's all. That was interesting and mesmerizing for me, for our groups. And of course, thanks to this project to make us connected. Thank you.
Thank you, Razak. I'd like to move it on a wee bit now, because we're talking about adaptations that you have made. And because we're in COP26, and there are discussions and debates going on all the time about what our futures are going to be and how urgent it is to make these adaptations now and not later. Can I ask what you think the best vision is for a sustainable, inclusive future, and what part does the arts and creativity play in that? And I'd like to hand that over to Pawel to begin with, to give us a different perspective on that.
Thank you so much, Simon. Yeah, so inspired by this wonderful project. Again, thank you for inviting me to be a part of it. But also, you know, the original work of art, the Sufi poem from 12th century, amazing, amazing. And thinking of the birds and the act of flying here, and other literature, I'm thinking of the Greek mythology. You know, we had Icarus, the son of Daedalus, who with his wings attached to his body, ignored the advices of his father to not fly too close to the sun. What happened is that the wax in his wings started to melt, obviously leading to a catastrophe. Now, we are now in times of intensive scientific and technological innovation, also literally flying again very far with space exploration, with also in other ways, inventing genetic manipulation, artificial intelligence that, by the way, also heavily relies on exploration of natural and human resources. Technology is powerful. It inspires us, connects us, creates new possibilities, but also often crosses the boundaries of what is considerate, decent, and simply ethical to do to us, but also to other living species on this planet. So thinking of adaptation and the challenges we face. Now, as in the remarkable teachings of Duke Redbird, we need to stay respectful to planet Earth, be humble to its amazing yet also limited resources. These amazing groups of artists from Bangladesh, Chile, Brazil, Canada, Scotland, Ghana, India, though connected in the last months with each other using new technologies, online tools, they still remain, I would say, in duty to their own local communities, cherishing own cultural background, distinctive identity, of own physical surroundings and people with respect to the local environment, learning from it, listening to it, taking care of it. I believe that sustainability can only be achieved by listening well to planet Earth, where which is there way longer than the humankind and likely will remain longer than we will. So with all our knowledge, skills, technological innovation, power, money, we are just guests here for a rather short period of time. We should behave well towards the host having us. So we speak today about adaptation. It is not the strongest or the most intelligent of the species that survives, but the most flexible, adaptable. We can only sustain our time on this planet and the planet itself in the way it is if we are in good dialogue with it, with each other and all living beings here. Again, I'm so delighted to be a part of this project. Thank you, Simon, Erica, Duke, Fraser, and all the fantastic communities from different countries around the world. I'm very proud of what we collectively have managed to achieve in resilience, very much needed in the context of the recent and unfortunately still ongoing global climate and health crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Pawel. Maria, can I ask you the same question? Maria, from Chile, you've been working with elders and younger people in different circumstances. What, from your perspective and from a Chilean perspective, what's the best vision for a sustainable, inclusive future?
Hi, everybody. Thank you as well as my fellow partners here were saying. I want to thank you for this invitation. I think this was amazing, and I share the emotional part of it as well, as Punita was saying, and as Pawel said. This has been an amazing journey, and I think one of the most amazing things about it was to share with people from so far away. And I think that was something that was super important as well for the communities that we work with, that sometimes we didn't even understand what the other people were saying, but there was like a sense of a connection and of a same feeling. So thank you once more for this amazing invitation and for being here. And in relation to your question, Simon, I was thinking in the same terms. You know, I think we worked with elder people and also with youngsters, people that were 10, 12, 9 years old, and people, Corsita, who was the eldest, she's 90 years old, and we all worked through Zoom because we were in the middle of a lockdown, and I think we don't know what the future will bring us and how we will be able to actually deal with this environmental crisis and how are we going to answer that. But I think one of the possibilities that we have in our hands is to actually provoke these spaces for encounter and for getting together and for actually thinking together in relation to topics as different as the ones that are said or proposed in the journey of the birds, and that have a lot to do with the crisis that humanity is facing. And I think maybe the solution, we don't know what the solution will be, but I'm sure that that being able to talk to each other and being able to generate these spaces of reflection together, that we're able to communicate, that we're able to know what the other people are thinking or feeling, even if it's through technologies that of course are of great help, but also in the presence of each other will somehow be part of the solution. I think like the solution needs to come from meeting each other and from talking and being able to share. And I think for us, that was part of the experience as well, like to being able to reflect on these topics together. And I think in a world that is very polarized, that in the moment we are seeing all these like kind of new fascisms arise and a lot of segregation and a lot of difficulties that are related as well to our indigenous peoples. I think provoking these spaces where we can have a real encounter will be part of the solution. And I think if these kind of spaces are related to art, I think art can also give many answers. You know, it connects us with not with practical things or not with the things that we need to do, but with the things that we wish, that we want, that we fear, that we are amazed by. And I think it can also be part of the solution to talk in these terms, you know, to relate to each other, to reflect with each other in these terms. That, I think.
Can I just add a point here? Simon, Eric?
Please do.
Yeah, I just want to say that, in the cities, we place a lot of emphasis on individuality. You ask an urban kid what are his dreams and his aspirations, and he will say that he wants to get good grades and get into a good university and then a good job and earn a lot of money so that he can have a big house and a big car. You ask a rural kid what his dreams are, and it will be for the community. And so somewhere we need to start bringing this shift. I mean, it's wonderful to see, I'm an individual, et cetera, but if in our cities, the teachers and the mentors can open up that child's mind to understand that he's part of a collective and that we have a network, that we are, what Maria just spoke about, the collective, the support. If each one of us can understand that in the other person's joy is my joy, in the other person's well-being, I too will be growing stronger and healthier. And that requires actually a big shift in our minds. It's a 360-degree shift for the urban people. And we are the people who are actually, stripping more of the resources from the planet, whereas they're being replenished more in our rural areas. I mean, that's for India. I don't know about the rest of the world, but yeah. So my thing is to get that community spirit back across all cities and across the world, yeah. Sorry, thank you.
That's lovely, thank you, Punita. And that's segueing very nicely into where we'd like to go next. These conversations are starting, but what are these more concrete things that we can be doing? Where next, what next? We have a murmur that's building here in the space of birds, and school children come in and everyone who visits, and they build an origami bird and they put a pledge inside of it. So we want to, in a moment, open it up to everybody to consider what are these things we can do, we individually, as groups in our communities. But before we open it to everyone, Duke, could you give us some guidance on something concrete you think we might be able to do next?
Well, in English, the word earth, of course, says art is center of the earth, E-A-R-T-H. And if we teach our children by example that and that ownership is what we're presently teaching children. We say they're your toys, that's your room, that's your clothes, that's your and on it goes. And then children rebel when the adults try to tell them what to do with what the children believe that belongs to them, such as their room, their clothes, their toys, and what is the reason for that? Is because we immediately teach ownership of material things to our children, instead of teaching them the ownership that they have to life, to the earth, to Mother Earth, to nature. That if they were brought up to believe that that flower and that tree and that sky and that sun they own that, in the sense that from the earth and from all that is in it is what helps us grow into human beings who are worthy of the planet that we live on. Right now, there's so much of the populations around the world who seek to have status by how much they can acquire and own of the earth. And that ownership of parts of the earth, including land and all that the land produces on their behalf, creates the kind of oligarchies that are presently ruling the planet. But there are only 8 or 10 or 12 of them who collectively have access to the ownership of 50% of the entire world's resources. Well, this doesn't even make sense. But how did they get there? They got there by being told when they were babies that they could only get status by the amount that they could acquire. We have to start teaching our children that the only way to have status in this world and respect in this world and love in this world is not by how much they acquire, but how much they can give. And it's in the giving that you acquire a healthy relationship with not only the universe that you live in and the planet that gave you birth, but your parents and all your relations. And in the Indigenous world, when we acknowledge the land, we also acknowledge all the creatures and all the relations that we see contributes to who we are. There's too much of this individualism of telling a child that they are individuals with privilege and rights simply because they were born. Well, that's not how it's supposed to be. That we don't have privilege and rights because we're born. We are born because the privilege and rights of the Mother Earth has bestowed us with gifts that in giving to us, we should like dominoes, begin to give to everything and everybody else. I mean, it makes sense. Obama, and he talked about needing a movement to persuade everyone to become better citizens. Well, I can represented by how much you can give to your fellow man and human beings, and not how much you can acquire for yourself. And unfortunately, the media in all its forms, from the iPad with TikTok every day, addicting our children, our little children, with rewards that are only means that they will eventually become addicted to a commercial society that puts more value on profit than it does people. And we need to segue away from that. And it's up to the parents to begin that process with their own children. And we have to introduce a new kind of thinking even in our education system. There's so much in technology that can be so useful to the betterment of the human experience, but where is the concentration of that technology going? It's going to provide more consumerism goods for products that we don't need and we don't want, but we are conditioned to want them because we are conditioned from the first day we get an iPhone, and it starts to seduce us into all the things that everyone else has, and we could have it too, when it's all lies. There's no truth to it. And so I know it's a big ask, but there are artists around this world who can develop, take out the biases for the consumerism and distraction in our technologies and introduce a different bias. And that bias is the bias of being a better citizen and a better human being.
Thank you, Duke. Thank you. Thanks for that wisdom. It's a really important part of having this conversation here at COP26 on a global scale with this technology. And in Canada, there's been massive leaps forward with Indigenous thought leadership, but also with disability activism and arts. There's been quite a lot of progress made in that. And just very briefly, because I want to be able to ask field some questions from our audience and from the people online. Emily, could you tell us briefly how disability arts has moved things forward in Canada?
Thanks, Simon. My name is Emily Promis-Allison, and I'm here as an artist mentor representing the National Access Arts Centre from Calgary, Canada. And I think that my personal involvement with this project, for example, has been very enlightening because it's not something that the general public is aware of. I think that there's still a lot of marginalization when it comes to people who have disabilities of any kind. There are also invisible disabilities, so there's not always a situation where you can be in public and say this person needs these kinds of supports. And so I think that letting go of the stigma and like the idea and the concept behind what that means and kind of reframing it is really important. I think that in the arts, because that's the only thing that I can really speak towards, is that there is a lot of support. And I think that being an artist, like Jordan and Jonathan and Rachel and Karin, hi Karin, hi again Karin. These are only 4 amazing people who have very unique ways of seeing the world. And from what I understand about working with the National Access Arts Centre is there needs to be a community. So when we're talking about birds and flocking and murmurations and all of these things, it's really a beautiful metaphor for how we come together, because I think that without having that social structure and the supports that are there for people to be creative, because I think artists really are behind a lot of change in the world. And I think that activism through art is really important as well, because it's a universal language. Oftentimes we can look at something and we don't necessarily have to implicitly understand who made it or where it came from, because it can speak to us in many different ways. So I think that the social structure that I'm familiar with based on this project has been very successful, but unfortunately there's not enough of it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm very conscious of the time and we're on a very tight schedule. I'd like to open the floor to some questions for any of us here live, but also online, and can be directed to any of our guests on Zoom or live. Do we have any questions? We don't have any questions from online. Any questions from the audience live? Comments or observations? We have one.
I think we've heard from a couple of people about this idea of care and collective and moving together.
Thanks, Jonathan. I think we've heard a lot from a lot of different people tonight about the idea of moving as a collective and a flock, as a village, together. I wanted to know a little bit about, through this project, how you learned to care for each other and for artists. And this question is for all of you, but I think Rachel might have a good answer there.
I will try my best to answer this the best I can. As I said before, I will try my best to answer this the best I can. For this project, to be honest, it really helped me to reconnect with everybody around me. Because during the shutdown, I felt physically not connected with anybody anymore. It was very closed off and, sorry, I really felt like this thing was quite a wonderful way to help me reconnect with everybody, and I'm truly grateful. Just one other thing. Yes, that's all.
Thank you.
I think we have a question from online. We have a couple of questions, yeah? Certainly. How did the poem become the inspiration for the project?
Shall I take that one?
Yes,
yeah,
please.
Right, okay. Yeah. The poem became the inspiration of the project because Erica suggested it when we were having a conversation on Zoom in the midst of the pandemic and everything closing down. We were discussing how artists had moved very quickly online and were giving their work away free and adapting really, really quickly to the need to move online, and we were being resistant towards that move. And we were looking at ways, because we'd collaborated, both of us, internationally in lots of different circumstances, and we were looking for ways that international collaboration and live encounters could still happen in a safe way. We called it safe live encounters. And the need to be able to not know what was next was, and that risk was a safe place. And that was part of the inspiration of not knowing which valley was going to be next with the birds, because they all made their excuses when they get the call to adventure, the quest being the first valley. They all made excuses saying, I'm not ready to go on this quest, I want to stay the way it is, but it was an existential crisis. They had to move forward. And that's what we were looking at. We didn't know what was ahead. And that poem seemed to offer a framework that we could all move as artists forward into these valleys that had challenges and solutions, but we didn't know what they are. We still don't know what they are. We're in the Valley of Enlightenment right now around COP26, so we'll find out what happens next. We have another question? And 1 minute. Are we glorifying? Are we glorifying? Erica, do you want to take that one? Glorifying adaptation or glorifying propaganda or taking adaptation as mitigation? Yeah.
Whoa. 10 seconds. Okay. You know what? I think that's not a question I'm going to be able to answer. I think it's a great question to consider. Maybe I can leave that with the online audience, ourselves here, us as artists, all to qualify that for ourselves and plant that seed. I wouldn't want to take that on. So we're at time. Is it thank yous now? Okay. I want to thank all of our panelists here, Jordan, Emily, Jonathan, Rachel. We also have Carly and JS here from the National Access Arts Center. I want to thank Fraser for helping us, Tom, Duke for all your wisdom, and all the birds all around the world for joining here, and Rochelle. I'm sorry, another mentor artist with National Access Arts Center who was not on the table, but a key player. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, audience. The story will continue to unfold. Follow us at conferenceofthebirds.net. And you want to say one more thing?
Thank you, guys, for introducing ourselves. So, Conference of the Birds are important to us. So we hope to enjoy our nature, valley, and spirits beauty, and enchantment. So thank you again for supporting for Conference of the Birds.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.